going to start the process of trying to find the root cause of why I got to put 3 quarts over full in it before I got oil pressure. Other than that, it just plays game. If you watch the last video, that'll make sense to you what we're going to do. But we're going to try to drop the oil pan from the underneath and just take a look and see what's going on, see what all is involved with there. In fact, I've really never been underneath the car to see what's going on with any of it. In fact, I'm going to take you underneath there with me, see if we can't see what there's going to be on removing that oil pan without pulling the entire engine. See if we can put a thumb stamp of approval on why I have to overfill it, see what's going on with that pickup tube and whatnot. So at a first glance, to get this oil pan here off, I'm guessing I'm just going to have to move this drag link out of the way, and this right here is the actual oil pan, see? And maybe I can get at all the bolts and drop that out of there, if it'll drop down far enough in the front to actually clear the pickup. I guess we won't know till we try. First thing we'll do is get this oil draining. To pop this drag link off of here, just got to get a hold of these. And it's always easier if you're not holding the camera. But just bend them straight, and then you can pull them out this way. Kind of like so. Then you just back this nut off, and then we'll pop those out of there. So we got 1, 2, 3, and then we'll just let it swing on that one. Then I just took my pickle fork, slid it underneath there, and hit this with a 2-pound hammer, and she popped right loose. Now I'll pop this one loose. Then we'll move to the other side and just do one and swing it out of the way. There. You can see the 2 ends. I just saved the bolts and the cotter keys. We'll move over to the other side and we'll have this out of the way. Alright, so here it is. So we can just swing this right out of the way. Like this. There we go. And now we can get at all the pan bolts. So we got all the oil pan bolts out. If you want to know how many there are, that many. See all the silicone? Sure sign somebody else was here before us. Well, let's get the pan off and see what happens. Alright, with all the bolts out, she's falling out. Kind of. There's the pickup tube, so we'll see what we got. What is that? Maybe? I don't know if that's deep enough, but it looks like somebody put a small pipe wrench on there or something, or a pair of pliers to turn that. And I'm not sure if that's a hole there, a slight hole where it's sucking air or not. But if so, that would explain why you'd have to go deeper with your oil. I got to dig into this a little bit more and see what I find. It's been a couple of days. Had a little bit of rain showers. Plus I had to get some parts in for this. I want to show you what we're discovering and what we're thinking and what it is that we're going to try to do. So I'll show you that now. This is the pickup tube that we took out of there, and At first I thought we might have a hole in some of these deep scored, looks like they had a pipe wrench on there to put it where they want. And they just really scored and even dented it right here. This is actually smashed in. But anyways, I haven't verified that any of these went through, but if so, that would explain why we need extra oil in there if one was down here to cover it. But we bought a brand new one, ordered it, and it came in. It's a Maline, made in USA. And should be the same as this one, actually. You can see there's some differences on the screen on the bottom. This is the oil pan. By the way, this is a 187 oil pan. You can see the backwards indentation here. But it's a 187 oil pan, and it's kind of popular with the A-body guys because they say that this will work on an A-body with a big block. But we're virtually 5 1/4 inch deep. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the same, but the opposite. I'm going to go with the bottom of the block, and I'm going to put a flat edge and measure it to the depth of where this will sit in there. And a lot of people just put clay on there, and they smash it and they measure that distance. Well, if you're not going to let it get all sludgy in your engine, I think it's totally fine, you know, 1/8 of an inch away from the bottom of the pan. But they actually call for that to 3/8. So you got, I mean, it could be a little bit like that, but you just don't want it sitting 1 inch above there. Because so I'm going to measure that and make sure that we get that right, and we'll start over and see what happens. We put the oil pickup tube in there, just screwed it in, and I don't tighten them any tighter than I can get them with my hand. You know, kind of go to where it's snugging up and then finish the turn to where you got it facing right where you want it. Windage tray, we removed that obviously and clean that. But now we're going to go underneath it. I'm going to pop a rod cap off. I don't know how long or who all driven it with pressure, no pressure, pressure, no pressure. So I'm just going to, I don't know. I think I'll pop number 6 rod cap off. I'm going to give that a look. And we'll see if there's anything going on with that. We'll see what that looks like. If it looks iffy, we might have to pop some more off, and that'll be a determining factor of where we go from here. So I'll take you underneath there with me. We'll pop that off. So just to show you what we're looking at, these pistons look brand new. I'm still convinced that this motor was rebuilt. It had the oil pump off, they had the oil pan off. This motor is not original to this car, obviously. Anyways, this one here, right there with my flashlight on, this here should be number 6 cap. So I'm gonna pop that off real quick and just see what we got. Look at there, we got grind marks on this too. See that? I don't know if you guys can see that. See that crank? Looks like it's been balanced or something. Somebody ground on that. Okay, let me pop that off. I can't hold the camera and do that, but it's just basically these 2 nuts here. We'll take them off and get that rod cap off, look at the bearing, see what we got. I don't know how well you're seeing that in the camera, but that crank is just perfect. The bad news is the rod bearing had taken a beating and slightly I said, turned. So I'm going to pop off the one right next to it, and this would be number 5. And we'll see what that looks like. While that crankshaft looks like brand new, I mean, it looks like it just came from the machine shop. The rod bearings, they're showing wear. That's some starvation and some marks. But this one, You can see the difference. You can see the lines in there. This rod bearing actually spun a little bit. This one did not. The bearings are Cleveite 77. It's a good bearing. The rod bearings are 20 over. So I went ahead and popped a main, and you can see we got all the stuff you don't like to look at coming through. These are also Cleveite 77s and 20 over. Do I just order 20 over bearings for the crank and rod and main and put her back together and be like new? Maybe. The cylinder walls, I pushed the two pistons all the way up and I could see most of the cylinder walls, obviously not the very tops. They look beautiful. I could still see the crosshatch where it was honed, or bored and honed. I'm not sure which. What would you do? Set of bearings at this point would be very easy for me to order new bearings, put them in there, button everything up. Probably be fine, huh? So we discovered some things about oil pressure and bearings at the bottom end of this 383. I gotta do something. I can't put it back together looking like that. That ain't gonna work, no matter how much you wish. Not gonna get any better.